do not reflect those of the Evening Rush Network. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Live by the Three Sports Podcast on the Evening Rush Network. This is Coach Matt checking in with my main man Tyler, and we got a guest today, Stu, aka EJ, coming to visit today and rocking with us. So, how's everybody doing? How's this week been treating y'all? Everybody doing all right?
Yeah, everything's cool on my end.
Okay.
How you doing?
Go ahead, man. Stu, introduce yourself to the people on our side of things. I know you're doing your own thing, rocking on another other platforms, but let our listeners know, a little bit about you and, welcome to the show.
No doubt, man. Thank y'all for having me, man. I tuned in last week and couldn't get off the screen. Just I'm in the middle of stuff. Like I gotta do things, but I couldn't get off. And Shone hit me and said, "Man, come on through." With y'all blessing. But got another podcast called the Cast Worthy Podcast. We've been running for about 4 or 5 years, and it's just it's three guys, talking about urban news, politics, sports, and everything that we consider cast worthy is raw. It's it's toxic. Hopefully, cats don't cancel us week to week, but that's what we do, man.
Okay.
I'm happy to be with you guys.
Man. No, we appreciate you showing love. So, but before we jump into it, Ty, please let the people know where they can follow us and keep track with our show. And Stu will give you opportunity to do that. But before we check off to make sure people catch up with what you're doing. But before we get to anything, Ty, please let the people know where they can continue to follow and support our show.
You can support us in all streaming networks, Fire Stick. Where else? Amazon, Fire Stick, Apple TV. We're on Apple too. We can download it on Apple.
Apple, absolutely. Gotta get us on the iPhone.
Anywhere you can stream, you'll find us there.
Yeah, YouTube,
Instagram, Live by the Three or Live by the Three podcast. That's pretty much it. You know where we at.
Yes, sir. And please download the Evening Rush Network app so you can check out the other shows on the network. Lots of different programming on there. Entertainment, fashion, like politics, music, anything you want on the other shows. So you can keep yourself entertained throughout the week when we're not on. So please support and download the app. So, gentlemen, let's jump right into it. Things are starting to happen across, all sports. Basketball's going on. You got the NBA Summer League. Still some free agents out there. And the NBA just made an announcement a few days ago that they're starting an in-season tournament. So this is a new undertaking that they're trying. I'm not exactly sure why. I think from what I heard, they're saying that maybe the middle of the regular season in the NBA gets a little bit stale at times, and with rest management and guys not playing, so maybe they're trying to spice it up a little bit and maybe throw something in there to keep it exciting. So they're going with this in-season tournament that's supposed to start this upcoming year. So have y'all seen that? Have y'all seen what it's supposed to be? What it's what's the deal with this thing?
Let me see if I can remember. So it's 30 teams in the NBA?
Yes, 30 teams.
So 30 teams. It's going to be 5 divisions.
Yeah,
right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
6 teams.
5 pods, I think they're calling
groups.
them.
Calling them groups.
5 groups, pods. You play each. Well, it's broken up by the last year's record or something like that.
Right.
In each pod, you play each other 2 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the top 4 teams get like a bye.
Mm-hmm.
The next 2 teams with the best record is the wild card. Then it's a single elimination tournament, and then the top 4 teams play the semifinals in Vegas, and then the winner gets the cup in like December or something like that.
Okay.
Why are they doing that? I don't know. The games count towards the regular season record.
Right. Yeah. So some of that stuff is where it starts to get a little bit confusing for me. So the one thing is the games that you're playing, is that part of your 82?
Yeah.
Okay. So and then I'm going to assume that because don't they have like tiebreakers in the NBA, like based on your head-to-head records and stuff like that? That's how they determine stuff. So like, doesn't it make the schedule a little bit unbalanced if you're not playing everybody the same amount of time? Like I think that's where it got a little confusing to me. Like, how does it? The games are still considered part of your regular season record, right? Is that the case?
Yeah, but it's only 8 games. You playing 8 games in the regular season.
Right.
8 out of the 82. Then if you make it to the, let me see, if you make it to the, it could be 12 games out of 82 games with the playoff.
And so then that means you would only play 7. So nobody's going to end up playing more than 82 games, period. Now, can you play less than 82 games?
Nah, I don't think so.
So somehow, some way, you're still going to end up playing your full, because that's like the little stuff like that was confusing me. And then how do you sell season tickets? Like, so if you're supposed, you know what I mean? Like, is everybody definitely going to play everybody? Like there was just, I guess maybe those things were more confusing to me, that I didn't understand how it was all going to work. But I guess that, logistically they worked it out. And then what do you get out of it? Like what's that?
A cup.
That's it.
The first ever inaugural NBA
cup.
You get a cup, because that's what I was saying. It's just like you get to be like, I guess they select the most MVP or something out of that. You know what I mean? And then I was like, well, is it like how like in the NBA? Well, they're still gonna have the All-Star game. Like obviously they'll still have that. But is it like, is it some sort of incentive? Like if you win the tournament, like maybe you get home court advantage and the real thing, like it just has no effect. It's just totally separate, except the game still count as your 82.
Yep.
To be honest, I saw the rollout video that Richard Jefferson did.
Yeah, I saw that too,
and I was still confused. And I mean,
the biggest thing confused me more.
I think Tyler's explanation was the best I've seen in the whole thing. And then it's like, why? You know what I'm saying? And you're just doing all of these things, and we've got enough games as is, depending on who you talk to. If your team was in contention last year, you're looking at it like, what does this really mean? Right. I don't know what the NBA is doing. I don't know if this is their way to say we're going to keep these 82 games, but y'all take this and enjoy it. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. But the compensation is $500 for each player on the championship team, $200 for each player on the runner-up, $100 for each losing semifinals, and $50 for each team that loses in the quarterfinals.
Okay. So they're making it. So basically what they're trying to do is, how much do you think that has to do with, say, like that middle portion of the regular season where people say it starts to get stale and the games don't count, and maybe that's when people decide to do their load management and all of that different stuff like that, that now if you put some incentives in it, money wise, aside from the competition, the tournament standpoint of it, that maybe that incentivizes people to play, like
500 to 500. I mean,
right.
That was exactly what I was going to say when I heard the money is definitely for load management purposes.
Yeah. So maybe that might be to engage people to play. They got the out. So what it says here is that at least 2 teams will play 40 home games instead of a normal 41.
Okay.
Possible 2 teams will end up with 42 home games instead of 41.
Right.
22 teams that don't make the quarterfinals will be scheduled to play on off nights of the tournament after group play is completed.
Okay.
So want to hear the groups?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So the Eastern Conference, Group A is the Sixers, the Cavs, the Hawks, the Pacers, and the Pistons. Okay. Group B is the Bucks, the Knicks, the Heat, the Wizards, and the Hornets.
Okay.
C that's a little tough one right there. Group B is tough because only 2 got to come out of it. 2 coming out of it.
Mm-hmm.
No, 1 coming. No, 2 comes out of there.
Right, because the wild card, right?
No, 1 comes out of there.
It's so it's not if you finish second. It's if you finish with the best record on your side, then you're the wild card team.
You got to be. Hold on.
This is crazy.
3, 5 teams. The team with the winner of each group plus a wild card from each conference. So it's the winner of each group and whoever got the best record, I guess.
On your side. So it's 4 teams total. 4 teams on each side.
One from each group,
4.
right? Or,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
No,
yeah.
But they combined.
Oh, they cross it over at that point.
Yeah, so it's the 3, okay. And then whoever got the next 2 records, that's
gotcha.
6.
Gotcha.
Then it's single elimination for everybody.
So it could be 2 wild card teams, like from one conference. Oh, okay. All right, that makes okay. I get okay.
So for C is the Celtics, the Nets, the Raptors, the Bulls, and Magic.
Ooh. That's probably the easiest one, right?
Yeah.
So in Western Conference, we got the Grizzlies, the Suns, the Lakers, the Jazz, and the Trailblazers. That's the top.
Yeah, 3 teams.
B, you got the Nuggets, Clippers, New Orleans, Dallas, and the Rockets. And C, you got the Kings, the Warriors, Timberwolves, OKC, and the Spurs. So
those last 2 in the West are actually kind of deep.
Who do you like coming out the East? The first group with the Sixers, the Cavs, the Hawks, the Pacers, and the Pistons.
Well, I mean, are the Sixers going to have James Harden? The Sixers don't have James Harden, and that drops them for sure, right? And then that gives the Cavs. I mean, you might have to go Cavs if it's just Embiid, right? You might have to.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Same Cavs that went down to the Knicks. So I mean that Donovan Mitchell with another year under the belt. You add that fear, but you got to think if Harden wants to make the move that he's making, they're going to have to get some type of compensation back.
That's that's fair. That's fair. Well, he's trying to go to the Clippers, right? I don't know what the Clippers would give him, but
right.
I don't know.
What about Group B? We got the Bucks, the Knicks, the Heat, the Wizards, and the Hornets.
That's a tough one with with all 3 of them in there. That's tough. The Knicks, the Heat, and the Bucks. That's a tough bracket. That's a tough bracket. And you say you play each team twice, one home, one away, and that determines your record.
Mm-hmm.
So say if you split, so let's just say all those 3 teams split. I guess you know what? From that perspective, just from that group alone, I can kind of see what they're doing, because let's say those top 3 teams split now, you're not going to load management with those 2 bottom teams and say, well, we're just not going to play these dudes. If you was a regular season game, you might say, okay, we're playing the Hornets, don't play, right? You might say that. But now, if you put this dynamic in it, you can't really do that, because you could slip. You try to rest somebody when you're playing one of the teams you think is at the lower end of the your bracket, and they end up beating you. Then that might be the difference between you winning your side. You know what I mean? Like, so from that perspective, it does maybe force teams to play in those games that they normally wouldn't. If they're, that's okay. Okay.
All right, so this is, next one. Celtics, Nets. Yeah, the Celtics. Celtics, Nets, Raptors, Bulls, Magic.
Yeah.
It should be the Celtics for sure.
Yeah,
and just going back to the last group, based on what you said, Coach, and the splits, if we got a healthy Milwaukee, you got to kind of go with Milwaukee, because we still don't know. But here's the other thing. We still don't know what's going to happen with Miami and any potential movement.
They get Dame Lillard.
So, but I mean, you got to kind of go with a healthy Milwaukee, because of what we know those guys can do, especially when they play the Knicks. It just seems like we can't beat those guys.
It seems like Milwaukee just got to beat the Heat. Everybody else will beat themselves. You know what I'm saying? The Knicks and the Heat, they'll split probably. The Knicks will beat Washington. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just by elimination.
Right. But it does put a little bit more where it's like, you're not going to take a night off. Now there might be some, and that's the thing too, is like when they built it in like to the regular season schedule, the NBA teams, I think, and the players are still going to try to figure out how they can get their load. They're going to still try to work it some way, but it might put a little bit more pressure. Dudes is just like, yo, I'm trying to get that 500. You know what I mean? Whatever, like in the locker room, even like, yo, man, what you, yo, like, let's go, like, let's play. I'm trying, the extra 500, like, I don't know. I don't know.
And also, it might give them an incentive to do well in the regular season.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll get a better seed the following year.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, because I know, like, with baseball, it's different from the All-Star game. Or with baseball, like, whatever team, National League, American League, whatever team wins the All-Star game, that team gets home field advantage. So that's what I was saying. Like, does it have any, like, besides the money part, like, is there any incentive for the team as a whole or your conference, whatever, if you're, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I was trying to see. Like, did they do anything with that to make it more, people more apt to want to participate? Well, they have no choice but to participate, but at least go through and, try to win. Because I think somebody I was reading, they said they were comparing it to soccer, where soccer has like these different in-season, leagues or tournaments, whatever, that they kind of do at the, during their Premier League, all that stuff like that. They have like other little leagues that go on at the same time, and it kind of keeps the interest going, I guess. So, I guess that's why they're trying it. So, we'll see. Okay, so yes, we did the Eastern pod. So let's talk about the Western a little bit.
This one is tough. You got the Grizzlies, the Suns, the Lakers, the Jazz, and the Trailblazers.
Say that one more time.
Memphis, Phoenix, LA, Lakers, the Jazz, and the Trailblazers.
Yeah, that's another one. That's another loaded pod with 3 good teams. It's a loaded pod.
By the time this is played, you said Phoenix?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Phoenix.
By the time this is played, Ja would have been suspended how many games?
It's supposed to start in January. Is that right?
No, it starts November.
Oh, then he ain't 20. If they start
September 3rd. The quarterfinals is the 4th and the 5th.
And the season starts in September. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be close.
Yeah, that's something to consider for that team.
That's for sure. That's something for sure.
To consider for that team.
And even if he is back, you still got to work him. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, okay, obviously,
but it's gonna be too
player,
late.
but
it's gonna be too late, because by the time he get back, they might be gone.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
You playing Phoenix, LA, Utah. Might be too late.
Yeah.
I might have to go. I'm gonna go with LA.
Lakers?
I'm gonna go with LA for the simple fact that we got the situation in Memphis, just like Coach said, right? You're looking at a team that without Ja, they've won 20 games, right? So they have some type of chemistry, but you're bringing in Marcus Smart, which is gonna be another element of trying to figure out chemistry, but he's a leader who might take a more assertive role. And then you got Phoenix. I can't ever bet. I love KD, but I can't ever bet on this guy's health. And so with LA,
I still can't even figure out that roster, to be honest with you.
It's top heavy. And then with LA,
but I don't know how are you gonna play him. I still haven't. Is KD playing the 4? How are you playing?
Yeah, they're gonna have to switch up.
And then is he gonna be healthy by that time?
Well, it's the beginning of the season. He'll be good. He'll be good in the beginning.
I don't trust KD injury wise at all anymore. And then, but I mean, with LA, if you
Davis?
Quietly though, LA has been tooling up for that bench though. They finally. Yeah.
Like KD, you got somebody worse than him.
See, but
KD be having real injuries.
Exactly.
That's true.
Not
That's
real
true.
injuries,
That's
but
true.
he has
That's true.
Good, like major body part injuries.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like shit, you could be like, oh yeah, he hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. It's gonna be interesting because, like you said, people are gonna try to work around and do different things to try. Will a team say, "Hey, man, like don't worry about the 500,000. We'll get y'all that. Don't worry about it. Let's just take a rest. Don't worry about it." Like you know what I mean? Like, or the dude's like, if I'm like a LeBron or KD and I'm getting 50 million, it's like, okay, yeah, 500 is still a legit amount of money, but if they're like, you know what, I'd rather take, 500 is 500, but I'd rather take my rest, because now if you look at it like, okay, you get 500 if you win the in-season tournament, but how much do you get for being in the finals? You know what I'm saying? Those bonuses and all of that. So if it's like, okay, your bonuses, if you make a deep run to go to the finals, if your bonuses end up evening out to how much you would make for winning the in-season tournament, do you say, yo, I'd rather, you know what I'm saying? Okay, yeah, we're not going to win the in-season tournament. We'll take that L so we get our load management together, because if we end up going to the finals, then that bonus is going to be more than, you know what I'm saying? Like all those little, I'll be interested to see if people buy into it, or if it's Silver and them already figured out, okay, yeah, we know they might try to do this and they got some things in there. Like, nah, y'all better not try to pull that. Y'all dudes better be out there playing. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I just like what LA has done to shore up their bench. I think it's the first time in a long time that LeBron playing GM has decided to get some support. So I like LA.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, okay. We got two more, one more.
Group B is Denver, Clippers, New Orleans, Dallas, Houston.
That's a deep one too. If Dallas being the key in that one, if Dallas can get themselves together with Kyrie and Luka, then that one becomes a little bit deeper. That becomes a deeper one, because New Orleans, as they showed last year, when they're healthy, they got good young talent. You know what I mean? So, you know, we'll talk about Zion in a little bit, but you know, if they can keep their crew together, New Orleans has a nice young talented roster. And then Dallas, you know, they're a wild card in that. If they can get them dudes on the same page and playing together well, I mean, you got two hellified scores on that team all around, you know, so that makes that one more interesting.
You said Denver is also in that group?
Yeah.
See, but back to your point, Coach, I think they would be the guys that would literally be trying to figure out, how do we get this load management popping? We just won the championship. We're not worried about this cup. You know, we got a 2-man game. We lost Bruce Brown. Mm-hmm. So I think the real wild card is Houston. You got Dylan Brooks. I think Bruce Brown is there, right?
Yeah, I think that's where he went.
And then Ime Udoka's coach. Oh, no. Bruce Brown in Indiana. You're right.
Indiana, right.
I forgot who else Houston got, but then you got Ime Udoka, you know, trying to come back with a vengeance. I don't know.
They just traded homeboy that was humping Jalen Green. They just traded him.
You're crazy. And they say, you know,
we'll talk. They traded,
and they say that might. But see, here's another thing, though. They might not make them necessarily a better team, but they're saying that's another possibility for at least at one time they were talking. That was another possibility for Harden to go back.
Yep.
So if he goes back, I mean, I don't think that catapults them to the top, but I mean, it makes them more competitive for sure. You know, any given night.
Yeah, they'll be part of the 22 teams that be playing the filling games. Okay. Last group is the Kings, Warriors, Timberwolves, OKC, and the Spurs.
So he said, okay, so I'm sorry, say that one more time. I heard the Timberwolves, the Spurs, and
Sacramento,
Warriors.
Golden
Sacramento,
State, Minnesota, OKC, and San Antonio.
3 good ones in that one too, right?
I would go Sacramento,
Golden State, Sacramento, and the Timberwolves. I mean, I'm not saying they're a championship team. I mean, they got 3 legit, you know what I mean, good players.
Right? So who you going with?
I'm going with Sacramento.
Yeah, me too. Remember, it's not a 7-game series.
It's 2, right?
It's 2 against. You get 2 against each team.
But see here, an interesting dynamic of this is it's the styles make fights thing, right? So yeah, so you got the top, you know, top talent and all of that. But you know, there might be some matchups, and again, if you're not pulling the load management thing, you might run into a team that, if both teams are at full strength, they might not be as strong as you, but if they do something well that you don't, and like you said, it's not a 7-game series where over time the talent is just gonna, you know what I mean, take over. If it's just 2 games, you might, like, Sacramento's good, the Golden State is good, but they might run, you know, it might be something about, I'll just use Minnesota. Who else did we say in that bracket?
OKC,
right. So it could just, right, that's what I'm saying. They got decent young talent. So it might just, or the Spurs, it just might be something in styles make fights, and just in those 2 games where you think, okay, these teams should, Sacramento and Golden State should just walk over the rest of these, but you never know. And if everybody's playing, or even if somebody's not playing. So now if Golden State loses one person out of their big 3 or whatever, and a team like, you know, the Spurs or the Timberwolves are at full strength. That, OKC at full strength, that could be the difference between winning your bracket and not. That's wow. Well,
definitely an interesting concept.
Yeah. Listen, it got us talking about it, so people be tuned in, and like I said, it might. It's interesting though. Why do you think they started it so early? Because if the whole thing was to make the regular season a little bit more meaningful, if the regular season starts in September and you started in November, like you're only a couple of months. Like why do you think they started it so early? Get it out the way before Christmas, or what?
Well, I think because that's when the NBA starts really rolling, a month and a half into the season, and I think that probably would prevent the load management if it was after January, because you wouldn't be too engaged. They'd be like, nah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You get it early, it's still fresh. I think probably because of that.
Give it the best possible light.
Yeah.
I got you.
There's nothing really going on. Maybe even to compete with football. You never know.
I did see that they said that the championship game might be the same. I forget. Oh man, I can't remember, but I did see something like that where they said the championship game might be like the same week. It's not the Super Bowl, but maybe like, I don't think it's playoff time either. But there was something that they brought up that it was just like it's the same day as like a big. What I think it was? Check this out. Is it the championship game the Friday after Thanksgiving?
Black Friday.
I think is it black? Is it like the November 26th or something like that?
They didn't do the times. And it's
okay.
The wild cards is January 13th. What you guys in Black Friday? What games?
The in-season tournament championship, like the end of November.
No, it's December 7th and 9th.
Okay. Maybe I heard.
It begins November 3rd. So it's every Tuesday and Friday.
Okay.
So they definitely.
So they have one, right? So if it's Tuesdays and Fridays, one of the games is going to be on Black Friday, and the NFL is having their the first Black Friday game, and because actually the Jets are playing in it, and it's going to be on Amazon. So they were saying something like, why the NBA is trying to compete and have something, I don't know, but that might just be people talking. But
I don't think they can compete with the NFL, but it definitely makes them more relevant than it would be just regularly when you're not playing. When you're just regularly playing, and Sacramento might be playing OKC and nobody's tuning in because it's a West Coast game. Now you got this tournament space. If the times are different, you ain't got to worry about going to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast.
Right.
Yeah, I just clicked on something, and it says that the in-season tournament is designed to create competitive excitement during the heart of the NFL season.
Right. Yeah, because you're right. Yeah. How about that? Huh? Hey, listen, they're
taking a swing.
Yeah. Listen, try. Can't knock it, right? You don't know unless you try. You don't know unless you try. All right. So okay. So we touched on a couple of things, and off the NBA that we'll follow up on. So one of them we talked about the Spurs a little bit. They're in the pod, and we talked about their potential matchups in the pod situation. But did y'all get a chance to check out Victor Wembanyama? He played 2 games in the summer league. One was better. The second one was better than the first one. So overall, he played 2 games. Over the 2 games, he played averaged 27 minutes out of the 48. Played 18-point average, 10 rebound average, and 4 blocks average over the 2 games he played in 27 minutes. So did y'all get a chance to check anything out or some highlights? Or
how did he look?
So did you see it?
I saw the second game highlights, and I saw some of the blunders from the first game. I saw the first game. I mean, people got to remember this cat is super young. The NBA. Let's not forget the summer league. While he's playing some rookies, there are some vets in there, and it's first game, and in the second game, when you put all of that together and you just looking at his age and his skill set, you gotta still be excited about what this kid can do.
Sure. Yeah, talent-wise, no question.
Who did he play against the second game?
Portland, right?
I believe so.
Yeah,
don't get me lying.
I think it was Portland's summer league team. Let me play devil's advocate though. They're saying this dude is a generation. Now he's for sure a generational talent. but this is something that me and Todd talked about before. If you're going to be that guy, are there caveats, or is it just jump off the screen like the first time, like there's no questions asked, like no, that's a dude right there? You get what I'm saying? Like, so do you feel like you saw that? Like, yeah, there's no question. I'm not talking about his talent, what he could do. I'm saying like when to me, like when you're one of those guys, there's no caveats. It's like, yes, that's it right there. Period. There's no, you know what I mean? No, oh yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like, so what did you see? Like, what level do you think he can get to?
Well, hold on to that. Let's go to halftime real quick.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Give him
some time.
Yeah, I'll give you. Yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back to that. We'll come back. So we'll pause for halftime. We'll come back talking about Victor W on the second half of Live by the Three Sports podcast.
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Chrissy, here to let you know that the Evening Rush Network now has an app. Yes, an app, you guys, so you can stay connected on the go and watch all your favorite podcast shows. You can download the app at Google Play Store or Apple iTunes. So spread the word. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Also, if you're looking to start a podcast and really don't know how, well, hit us up at the Evening Rush Network at gmail.com and inquire about time slots, pricings, and everything you may need to get started. We got you. Join the winning team, the Evening Rush Network. And also, download that app. What are you waiting for? Get to it.
All right, we are back live by the Three Sports podcast. So when we left, we were talking about Wemby in the NBA Summer League. So my question to both Stu and Ty is like, is he jumping off the screen at you? Are you looking and saying, that's the guy right there? No questions asked.
I think, man, for me, it's I think we prisoners of certain moments, because I don't know that there's been many instances where we've seen guys that we just could certify out the gate. Like LeBron is an enigma, Melo was an enigma, KD had his rough stretches, D Wade. I don't think I know his first game was super bad, but what you saw from the second game and what he was able to do, at some point you gotta say, amongst his peers, and at this time he's that guy from the range, from the things that he was doing. The only thing that I really see getting in his way could possibly be injury. And I mean, every year we have this conversation with every prospect. Some guys fizz out, some guys don't. Look at Zion. We talked about Zion. He ain't played in no games, but he still has that potential. So I think if we are league talking all about potential and I know that was kind of opposite of what you're looking for, I have to say, based on his skill set and what I saw and what is out there, I can kind of ride with that, man, because it's a lot of guys that performed in the summer league and they didn't do as well as this kid did. I might be a little bought into it with Popovich and the Spurs. I gotta say, he might be that guy.
I have a question.
Yep.
All right. With that being said, right, who would you take, him or a healthy Zion? Healthy Zion. Now, when Zion plays, he does the damn thing. So who would you take coming in?
I think you got to go with a Zion if you're ready. If you're talking about built ready now, physically, athletically, just overall savage of the game, you got to go with that, because Wemby is a 7-footer. He's got to grow into his frame. He's a European guy. He's got to translate. He's got to kind of figure it out. Zion, I think you got to take him. But I mean, it's hard to really feel so strongly about it because he ain't been healthy. But healthy Zion, I think you got to go with Zion.
Now, mind you, Zion's 23 years old. He's been in the league 3 years. Something like that.
3? So is it 3 or 4? Is this his? Like I'm saying, is this his foot? Is this his fourth?
He was a rookie and came in 2020.
Right. So
virtually.
Yeah. So this is going into his fourth season. This is going into his fourth season. What should be his fourth season, right?
Right.
Right. Yep. Okay. I mean, well, it's funny you talk about that because Zion was on a podcast. So if you're at work, Ty, were you asking me too, or you just asking?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so now, let me. So I got to give.
I need a clean.
Let's go, coach. Let's go, coach.
Yes or no question.
But this is what plays into it.
Remember back in the days, you like me? Yes or no?
Check the box. Yes or no? No maybes. No maybes. Okay. So here's the issue. So I agree with you that the jury is still out on Wemby. We don't know because we don't. Now, I like the way he answers questions. I like hearing his answers when they ask him things and how he carries himself. I think he's humble, which I think is a good start, right? So I think mentally, I think he has a chance to be okay because of that. Now, Zion, the questions where I'm starting to, I agree on the physical part. I think that Zion physically should be able to stand up better than Wemby because of the physicality, but it's part of also his physical, what he brings to the table physically has gotten in the way from. And he was on a podcast with was it Gilbert's podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Or something? I think yes, Gilbert's podcast.
In the arena.
He said, so it talked about, how you trying to make this comeback, where you at with your career. And he made a couple of interesting comments that, a couple of people may, raise some eyebrows like, that's where your head is at. But so I'll let y'all, talk about that a little bit and then I'll give my answer. So one of his quotes was, it's more of locking in on flexibility, band work. I think it's those things that will be able to keep me on the court longer rather than losing a bunch of weight and coming to play. Then he said he learned that from LeBron with how he takes care of his body. And then he also talked about rebuilding his circle with the people around him, giving him some wisdom and stuff like that to maybe get out of his immaturity. Because he did talk about that. He was like, look, I'm 22 years old. I got all this money. So, I feel like I'm invincible. And if, I want to go out to eat and I got money, I'm going to go eat. So, that he talked about that, but he's saying he's trying to reverse that, change it. But then, now again, we don't know, but Jay Williams from ESPN, who did go to Duke as well. So we would assume that he can talk to some people around to find out some information. He didn't say Duke, he took it another direction. He said that, but he heard from people in New Orleans that the quote was, Zion loves basketball, but he doesn't love the work that comes with it. So now to answer your question, Ty, when you start hearing things like that about him and his work ethic and where his mentality is, like saying that his weight isn't necessarily the issue, it's more of a flexibility issue. Those kind of things right there is kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work. You know what I mean? And it goes to, and still, if you don't know, I'm a big Charles Barkley fan, was growing up and stuff like that. And people try to make that comparison all the time between him and Charles Barkley. Physically, I don't see it. I mean, physically, I do see it.
Mentally.
No. But one of the things that helped Charles Barkley out when he was young, and he talks about this all the time, is going to a team with Moses Malone. Mm-hmm. And Moses Malone pretty much told him to his face, like, yo, because he was complaining, yo, I'm not playing this, that, and the third. Moses Malone told him, yo, you're not playing because you're fat. You know what I'm saying? And took him under his wing. They would run around the track before practice, go to practice, run around the track after practice, and he got him in really good shape. And he credits Moses Malone for making that transition in his career to then he turned into the beast he was in Philadelphia because he was in really good shape. So now, on the one hand, Zion is saying he's going to try to surround himself with better people to kind of encourage him to do the right things and stuff like that. So maybe he gets a little bit of that. I don't know if he has a Moses Malone type figure in the New Orleans franchise to, really get him under the wing. But, there's that. But then with Jay Williams saying that he's heard that he doesn't love the work like that, I don't, so what are these things that he's trying to do going to really help him? So the answer, what's that?
You never answered my question. So
that's where I'm going. So for right now, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little skeptical on him. So I'm probably trending towards Wemby because I don't know that much about him, but I don't know what his deal is. You know what I'm saying? It's yet to be seen. Is he really about this? You know what I mean? Is he really going to, just be all about the work and getting his body together, like Stu said, and really, dive all the way in like a Kobe or, those guys that a LeBron? Is he really going to dive all the way in on the off the court stuff to get him that. So right now, I probably would go Wemby because it's a little bit known of an unknown. Where, like Stu said, we've seen what Zion has done so far, and the stuff that's coming out about him from his own mouth, and what other people are saying about him is giving me a little bit of, I'm not sure about him. I don't know.
But do you think what he's saying is wrong?
Which part?
The part about the bands and all that. You think that's not what he need to be saying?
It's a part of the puzzle. I don't, and again, I'm not in his life, so I can't tell you that. Yes, the reason why he's hurt is because he's such and such weight. I can speculate, and I would think that it might have a little bit more to do with that than the flexibility in the bands.
That to me, that sounds the answer he gave with that sounds like it came from a coach or a trainer that's telling him you don't need to lift weights. You're at a solid weight. Let's get you with resistance bands to make your tendons stronger and things of that nature. But they to your point, coach, they're kind of giving into his mentality,
right?
Because he's kind of saying,
I can still be overweight.
I still want to be this heavy,
right?
But I could just do the bands, and that's true. But somebody, and I didn't say this before, but I played football in the past, and I remember transitioning from one strength and conditioning coach that was all about the weights, and then to another guy that was all about the bands. I'm like, yo, what is this? But with the bands came less weight. So you I mean, theoretically, if you're gonna do the bands, you gotta lose weight.
Right.
So he's still kind of wanting to do his own thing, not getting out his own way. And I would beg to say there's nobody in New Orleans looking out for him just off his situation with the Mariah Mills.
Ain't nobody could look out for him after dark. You know what I'm saying? I heard Teresa Weatherspoon is like one of his mentors, and he responds to her.
Okay.
But, I mean, when we close our doors and go to bed at night, we ain't bringing our mentors. We ain't
right. But see, and this is a go. And again, this stuff is never going to change. But there's no Charles Barkley was a top 5 pick, right? But Moses Malone was an NBA champion, an all-star, all of that. And he just told him straight up to your face, you're not playing because you're fat. And was clowning him in front of other players. You know what I'm saying? To the point where Charles Barkley was embarrassed and said, okay, you know what? I'm going to put down the McDonald's. I'm going to go running with Mo. You know what I'm saying? Like he got challenged to his face by another player and pretty much embarrassed him into getting himself into shape. Mm-hmm. People, they're not doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Because one, he's playing already.
Right.
When he played 61 games, he averaged 27 points a game.
Right.
He's a 2-time All-Star. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So his problem is injury. So yeah, if I'm thinking like him, if I'm working with the bands and all that, then that'll strengthen up them little muscles to support me. Yeah, I could lose weight. Also, I could lose a huge disadvantage because despite having the amount of weight I have on me, I jump out the gym, I bully people. There's a lot of things that come with that. You know what I'm saying? But he's only 23 years old.
Right.
So he's going to lose. He's not even in his prime yet. And he's going to get to the point where he's going to take care of his body. But this might be a good step in the right direction if he's working with the bands. And like Stu said, you work with the bands, certain other things, you have to lose weight working with the bands because of it's not easy.
That's true.
That's true. It's combining what both y'all said, and Todd, to your point, I think it is possible for him to get that work. But, today's game and athletes, they all about lean and strength. That's why what he's saying to me in my mind, and we talking about 17 years ago when I did this, and it was new to me, the knowledge they have today, the lean and the strength is the way to go. And to Coach's point, you talking about 2 different generations. 80s where a cat will punch you in your face, take your lunch money. Now everybody's worried about being sensitive. So I really feel like ain't nobody really telling him the truth.
And I'm not saying it's not the right way to go. I'm just saying that but what you said, Ty, is right. But if he don't love it like that, is he really even going to dedicate himself to that? If he doesn't love the work aspect.
But I mean, who loves the game at 23 years old?
But see, this is what to me,
Who?
The dudes that we're talking about, if you're talking about a franchise, like, because the question that you asked is who can you build your franchise around? Who would you take to build your franchise around? To me, if you're building your franchise around, you should be one of those people.
Not necessarily, though. Not necessarily.
I say you should be. I didn't say everybody is. I said if you have your choice of what you want to do to build your franchise, you would want ultimately this person that's all in, loves it, will take, go to the brink with it. You want a Kobe type mentality. You want to, you know what I'm saying? You want that. You may not get it, but that's what you want.
You're going to take an Iverson type mentality
to build knowing what we know now, to build a.
You don't. I mean, you can't.
I understand. I understand where you're going.
He ain't put no real Kobe type work in the game.
That's true, and you can make it to the finals and sell it, and you can make it to the finals and sell a lot of tickets. To
both your points, to Ty's point, at that age, and I think Coach, you kind of answered in support of his point. You got a Barkley who was 5th overall, who still didn't love the game, and he had to be chastised into it. I think the element that we're forgetting here is that Zion, your shelf life might not be that long where you can change it around later because you have gone through significant injuries.
Right. Barkley didn't have that. His injury started getting as he got older because of, well, part of it also was because, he was smaller. He was bullying people. He was smaller. So, he had back issues, but he did have, he had knee issues. He had all of that. So that stuff started, like you said, it starts to pile up on you as you get older. But like you said, I mean, Zion had the knee thing in college. That one wasn't necessarily his fault because the sneaker blew out. But I mean, that's a part of his.
He got a history,
right? But also, what happens when you hurt your legs? Can't run, you can't work out, gain weight. So
that's where the bands come in because you get to work on them small muscles.
That's true.
To support.
That's true. Okay. All right. So okay. So I gave you my answer. You said I didn't give you the answer, so I gave you the answer. So
I got it now. I got it.
So who? Okay. So we're gonna assume that you would take Zion over Wemby to build your franchise around.
If he's healthy, yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's what he said. That's what he said from the rip.
But that's not the no.
Okay. Listen.
I mean, you wouldn't draft him number 1 if he wasn't healthy.
Scenario.
Huh?
I could create any scenario if he's healthy. Okay. It's a different conversation. Listen, if he didn't get hurt,
well, no, I'm not saying okay.
Nobody would be saying nothing about his weight if he wasn't hurt. Nobody.
No. That's true. No, but I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Okay. Let's do this. Let's back it up.
Hold on. They was like the number 1 seed in the West when he was healthy.
Yeah, for sure. But let's do this.
The weight ain't the problem.
So let's back it up. So let's back it all the way up then. So now we don't know anything. So we're not going to go on based on what's happened since he's been there. Let's back it all the way up in a time machine. But now it's okay. They're the same draft class, Zion and Wemby. So we don't know anything about them as pros now. Back it all the way up. Who are you picking?
Zion.
Okay.
I got LeBron in there. Throw LeBron in there. LeBron, Zion, and Wemby. 1, 2, and 3. How that's going?
Oh shoot! You gotta go LeBron.
See,
over Zion.
I might be a little bit biased because remember that what I was saying about how it's obvious as soon as you see it. The first time I saw LeBron James play was at IS8 in New York, and as soon as I walked in the gym and in the layup lines, I had no idea what he looked like before that, but knew he was playing. Walked in the gym and in the layup line, I was like, okay, that must be him right there. And in the first 2 minutes of the game, and it wasn't like he had 50, it wasn't none of that. But within the first 2 minutes of the game, it was obvious that not only was he going to be good, you knew he was a Hall of Famer. In 2 minutes of him playing in a high school rec game, it was so obvious that that dude right there is a Hall of Famer, not an all-star, none of that. A Hall of Famer. You knew it just by watching him in 2 minutes. So that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, with those type of dudes, it's obvious. There is no, well, maybe you give it up. Like the dudes that are at that echelon, it's obvious right off rip to the levels. Not everybody. Like when first time I saw Kevin Love play, I said that dude's going to be an all-star. Easy. Derrick Rose, first time I saw him, all-star, easy. Like, to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's levels to it, but when you see it, you know it right away. There's no, maybe caveat, well, if this happens, that, you know what I mean? And so that's why I'm saying, like, when I watch some of these dudes like a Wemby and stuff like that, I don't see it like that. I see the talent, but I'm not seeing, no question about it, that dude is going to be one of the best of all time. Does he have the potential to be that? Yes, but I'm saying it's not jumping off the screen like there's no questions asked.
Would he be better than Bobo?
Well, they have the same skill set, but I mean, I think it's a little bit of a different situation because he's been playing against pros, so he's a little bit more polished than say Bobo was, because Bobo was a high school and 1 year of college, whatever. I think he's a little bit more polished because he came from a pro system in Europe and all of that, so he's a little bit more ready. But because I even look at it like I'm looking at him like he's a little bit taller, but from a game perspective, what's the difference between him and Chet Holmgren? He's taller, he's about 3 or 4 inches taller, but really, if you look at the skill set, what's the difference? They're the same player, really.
He looks more fluid and more natural than Chet.
And Chet's good too.
No, Chet is good, but we're not saying Chet's going to be that. You get what I'm saying? We're not saying that about Chet. That's what I'm saying. We're not saying.
I will say this: I love the parity in the fact that we don't have these top heavy situations, and there are a lot of question marks about the future stars. Because again, like I brought up that 03 class with Melo, LeBron, and
right, you knew all of those dudes was
you knew like the
all of it. It was obvious.
It's unreal. But now with these cats, we really will have to sit back and see, and who knows, 7 years from now, they might all be giving each other hell, which might make the whole game better.
That's true. No, that's a great point right there. Like I said, when you saw Dwayne Wade playing in college, you knew that dude was an all-star. It was no that's what I'm saying. It was no questions asked. That dude's an all-star. When you saw Melo 1 year of his first game in college, he was like, that dude's an all-star. Period. There's no questions asked. LeBron, like I said, the LeBron thing is that's a Hall of Famer. No questions asked. You know what I'm saying? Unless the injury stuff or whatever. But that's a great example right there with that 03 class. You knew all of those dudes was going to be Hall of Famers. It was obvious the first time they stepped on the floor. You know what I mean? But
great question, Ty. Great question.
Yeah, I'll go with it.
Definitely great question.
We got time to talk about the Jets. Did I run out the time? Or,
I mean, we have some other things on the docket, but we what's up to y'all? So we got a couple of things. We got a little bit of time left. I'll let y'all pick.
The Don said we can run a little bit. It's up to y'all.
Okay. All right. So let's see where we go next. So we can go to college athletics next. All right. So we can go Jets or we can go college athletics. So we had a couple things going on this week in college athletics. We had Northwestern football. The coach got fired over an article that was actually written by the student newspaper on lots of problems within the football program, and the coach was fired within a day or so of the reports coming out. So we had that going on, and then we had a situation with Bob Huggins where he was. He said everybody thinks he resigned, and then he says he didn't. So that's a whole saga going on. And then we got, some NFL stuff going on with the Jets and, signing people. And then you got Asante Samuel talking crazy about the rail. We got a lot of different stuff. So what direction y'all want to go? And you know what, Stu, you're the guest. So I'll let you pick, what direction we going. What would you like to talk about?
Man, as much as I'm a homer and I'm a Jets fan, I think we can knock out college athletics pretty quick. Bob Huggins, the legend. I think we got to say something.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know what he's done.
They said that the resignation came from his wife's email.
Right. So basically what I think he's trying to get him on a technicality, because from everything that I understood, he did send in a letter, but it came from a resignation letter came. He spoke to the president on the phone and said he was resigning. He had a meeting with his team and told them that he was resigning. And he even cleaned out his office. So if that's not somebody saying,
then again, I don't know. I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, so what I think, but he got a lawyer, and the lawyer is saying, I guess, in his contract that it said that, and when he resigns, it has to come, I guess, directly from him, and it has to have his official signature on it. Like, so it has to be a printed type letter and then his handwritten signature on the letter of resignation. And so the technicality that he's going with is saying, I didn't send the letter and it doesn't have my signature on it. So I really didn't resign, and I expect to be reinstated as the coach, even though they've hired another coach already.
Bob gotta relax, man.
He's trying to get that bread.
It's gotta be. Because they still could fire him. You know what I'm saying? But there's probably a difference between how much you get, you know, if you walk away, no bread, you get fired, bread.
Listen, Bob, you would 0.21, and listen, I ain't nobody to judge because I throw back some drinks with the best of them, but you was 0.21, Bears on the seat. Listen, you had a great run at West Virginia. They might give you a statue or a building. Just walk off into the sunset, brother. Just let it go. Just let it go.
I would have been in Bora Bora already. If I did, I would have taken that money. I would have been like, all right, y'all got me. I'm on the bungalow.
Yeah, let it go.
He's 70 years old, got all the money in the world. I'm on the bungalow in Bora Bora. You know what I mean? No cell phone service. Listen, that's what I would have done. But you know,
absolutely.
That's me. That's a little weird. So I mean, we could. So you say you want to stay with college athletics?
I don't know, man. I mean, because both these situations is kind of crazy. You know,
it's wild, man. But I have a question about all of it. So, you know, just to give a quick recap, because you know we are running a little low on time. But Northwestern football, like I said, an article that came out in the student newspaper with quotes from actual players, former players, corroborating all of the accusations, basically saying that, you know, lots of negative experiences, the big ones being hazing, but also racism within the program. They had a term that they called running, where basically if you messed up in practice or a game, you know, a whole bunch of dudes would take you in the dark corner and start dry humping you and doing all this other stuff. They had, you know, the car wash where you would be in the shower, and in order to get out the shower, you had to run through a whole bunch of naked dudes, and then they would spray you with a hose. What else we got here? Said, Gatorade shake challenges is not a sexual thing, but they would try to make you guzzle like 10 protein shakes in a row, like back to back to back, and dudes throwing up. And then they said that, you know, racism within the program where, you know, coaches and other players, you know, speaking negatively to, you know, minority players, you know, Hispanic players, telling them that, you know, shaving Cinco de Mayo in their heads and asking them if they know how to clean up hotel rooms, and, you know, black players, you know, from the coaching staff now, you know, black players not allowed to have, you know, locks, braids, anything like that. But, you know, the white football players could have their mullets and, you know, long hair and all of that. So, you know, that wasn't an issue. And then, you know, calling black players monkeys and looking like a gangster if you have a hat on, and, you know, all of these different things like that. So that stuff came to light. The head coach was fired. He's fighting back a little bit as well. But the thing that caught me, so two things. So Ty, and Stu, you play football, so I'd like to get your perspective on this, the whole hazing thing. But Ty, you played college basketball, played pro basketball. You know, if you don't want to get into specifics or anything, but, you know, from what I've seen as far as basketball, the culture's a little bit different with the hazing stuff. But have you seen or heard about hazing in all your experience as far as teams, maybe not to this degree, but, you know, what have you seen or heard, you know, regarding this?
Yeah, I mean, it's real. I can't go into detail because I signed an NDA, but real.
Okay.
Definitely real. I mean, you know, it's just a part of it. I think it's something that's normal in the sports world. It's just the level and the intensity of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I mean, making freshmen carry bags and stuff like that, you know, it's still, you know, but that's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it. That's not the same. Okay. So Stu, what, you know, so you played football. So, you know, what, again, you don't have to get into specifics, but, you know, your experience with hazing and okay. Well, let me say it a different way. Does this surprise you? Let me ask it that way.
Nah, it doesn't. I mean, outside of the sexual craziness, you know, that, you know, I can't relate or subscribe to that. Right. But, you know, it like Ty said, it's part of the game. I mean, that's the first time I'd been hazed in that atmosphere. And, you know, your coaches know what time it is. I think the thing that Northwestern, they tried to take that stance like, oh, it was going on, but we basically didn't know what's going on. Pat Fitzgerald, he's been a lifetime guy there. He was a legend there. He knows what time it is. So if these things were traditions, he knows what time it is. I don't know why they would have given him a 10-year contract and didn't know that this was already happening, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, and then the other thing to me too, which is crazy for some of the black players, if you're going through this stuff, why choose this type of institution? Why stay there? So I mean, I don't know. It's a big mess, man, and it doesn't really look good.
Yeah, well, I would say this. It's a couple of things. I don't know why any coach. To me, this seems obvious. If this stuff comes to light, you're getting fired. So to me, the question is whether you agree with it or not. Like, I don't know why you would turn your back. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should want it. If you were trying to keep your job, you should nip that stuff in the bud. Whether you think it's right, wrong, or you think hazing is okay, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't matter what your personal opinion is. The stuff that came out, if you're thinking clearly, you would say, listen, if people find out about this, I'm getting fired.
Especially today's climate.
Right. So let me make sure that, I do whatever I have to make sure that this doesn't go on. Whether I agree or not, doesn't matter. If I'm trying to keep my gig, I'm not going to let this type of stuff go down. That's the one thing I don't understand. Second part is, like you said, if you're a black player or a Hispanic player and you're experiencing this, why do you stick around or whatever? It's a couple of things. Number one, you're in that environment. So like you said, you might think that is normal and just, hey, this is just what it is. Number two, you're at Northwestern, prestigious football institution, but even, academically, great school. So you might be looking at it from, okay, I got to go through this. But at the end of the day, if I'm trying to go to the NFL, I'm going to have a chance. So I'll go through it now. Or at the very least, I graduate from Northwestern. I'm in great shape because of, where I graduated college from, which is part of what they sell you on when they're recruiting you, right? You go to Northwestern, you're going to get a great education, be a part of this, network and all of that. And you're going to be set for life. So if they're looking at it from the long-term perspective, that might be why they choose to endure it and go along with it. But you brought up a great point about the coaches, because this is the one question that I have. So they're saying that, okay, and obviously Pat Fitzgerald is the head coach, so he's responsible for all of it, right? You fire him. But some of the allegations were against assistant coaches as well, that they were the ones saying, like, because they didn't necessarily say that Pat Fitzgerald was saying or doing any of these things, but they're saying that he had to know about it. Okay. But in the article, it said that there were assistant coaches who were making the racial comments. They might have been around in the locker room, whatever, when some of this stuff was happening. But the Northwestern announced that only Pat Fitzgerald was getting fired. The assistants are staying on. So when I looked at that, I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. I get it. He's got to go. And I also do understand that it's almost August and football season is getting ready to start. However, if you're trying to make a statement about, this isn't allowed and everything, you still have assistant coaches that were not only probably aware that this stuff was going on, some of them were participating in it. Maybe not the sexual stuff, but the racism and stuff like that. So why are they allowed to stay on? That's what confused me. Mm-hmm. Like, well, how are they keeping their jobs? If everybody's saying that everybody knew about it, well, that means them too. So how are you going to put them in charge?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Pat is trying to fall, or either has fell on the sword for his guys. But to your point, I don't, because the assistant coaches to me are more liable to be the ones doing nonsense than the head coach, because they're around them. They're in those position group meetings. They saying all kinds of crazy stuff, and I've seen it. I mean, we talking 17 years ago. That's why I can't understand how cats in 2023. I mean, back then we wouldn't have stood for this kind of stuff. And probably somebody's girlfriend on the newspaper was like, nah, y'all can't stand for this. I'm blowing the whistle. I don't know what these kids is doing, but it's definitely a wild situation. And to your point, I don't understand how the assistants stay.
Because especially in football, right? Basketball is a little bit different, but in football, and I'm not going to say that Pat Fitzgerald didn't know, but at the end of the day, that's like college football, that's like 100-man roster. You know what I'm saying? You got all these assistant coaches, the coordinators, and all these people around. I don't know how often Pat Fitzgerald sets foot in the locker room. I don't even me personally as a basketball coach. I don't know how he knows every player's on the team's name. You got 100 dudes out there. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, you're gonna know your top, the top guys, but after, once you get to like the bottom dudes or red shirts, whatever, like how could he really know?
It ain't no way, and I'm telling you, it ain't no way these cats don't know what's going on. Training camp, spring ball, when everybody's stretching and they walking around, and let's say they call you nutsack.
Mm-hmm.
Fitzgerald gonna be like, oh, where did that come from? Right. Somebody, there's no way in the band of brotherhood in football. I don't care how many guys is on the field. Everybody knows everybody's situation, from the walk-ons to everything. I went to Delaware State, and John Tyler, one of our biggest football players ever come out, walk on from the gate, from the fence. Cats just like, yo, he could play, put him on the field. So everybody knows everything. And in 2023 at a Northwestern, they hire people to know things that's going on with the team.
Sure.
So I can't buy it.
No, I'm not saying he didn't know. I'm just saying that just like, and I'm sure you had this experience. If something is going on, the players are going to go to the assistant coaches first before they go to the head coach.
For sure.
Right? Is that fair? Because the relation, because they, especially your position group, whatever. So, that relation is going to be a little closer. So again, if they knew all of this stuff was going on and they were involved in it, like the racist comments and stuff like that, how are they allowed to stay?
Yeah, I don't know. Because they're the first line of defense to me.
Exactly.
So I don't know.
That's the whole thing.
They are the perpetrators. 95% of the time, I'm telling you,
the crazy,
they're the perpetrators.
We get told all of these things all the time in Title IX issues, because that's what this is, the sexual things going on. If you're a coach, your assistant coach, doesn't matter. You're required to report incidents of stuff like this. If somebody tells you, yo, I got sexually assaulted, you have to tell. You have to report it to the, you know what I'm saying? You have to. It's part of it's in your con. You have to report this. So again, like I said, I don't know the HR stuff, but I'm just saying, I don't get it. And again, I do get that football season is about to start and they can't have no coaches. Theoretically, I guess, but I mean, because then the other alternative is if you fire all the coaches, then you're just saying, well, we're not having a season this year. And I get, in the Big Ten and all of that, but I mean, what are we really doing here? Are we trying to protect the kids and what's going on? Or are we trying to salvage a college football season?
Historically, we know that they're gonna be okay because NCAA doesn't care about these kind of matters as long as you're not stealing money. We've seen that with Penn State versus Miami. They give the death penalty over money, but when you're touching kids or you're doing some craziness like Penn State did, you'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, well, what it comes down to is it's institutional control, right? So basically, they won't say that as long as the NCAA, the Northwestern can prove that it's not something that's going on in the whole athletic department. It was just, look, this is just football. Yeah, they were out of control, so we fired the coach, and we're going to start putting more. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're going to try to show. Like, hey, man, it was just him. We don't have this issue throughout our whole athletic department.
No, but I mean the death penalty going to the football program.
Sure,
Miami didn't have that problem as an institution. But I mean, they got the death penalty for just taking money.
Right.
And then when you look at Penn State, I think people minimize that, but you're talking about over 20 years of nonsense. And then when y'all found out, y'all fired him, y'all still allowed dude on to the facility to keep doing what he was doing. And they didn't even get the death penalty. No games revoked, none of that.
Right. Yeah.
So the NCAA, they're gonna turn the cheek on this one.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah, I mean, it's
nasty work.
No question about that. I mean, and like I was reading, the one thing that guy said that one of the players said that he's a former player, but I think he's a doctor now or something like that. So again,
psychologist, something.
Right. He went through all of this. Again, he graduated from Northwestern. He's a doctor now. So he endured all of it. To your point, you know, he endured all of it because of what it meant for his future. But his future, he has a good job. He's a doctor now, but he's suffering 10 years later. Therapy and all of that, saying he has PTSD because of what happened to him. Saying, you know, he said he didn't even watch a football game, you know, for like 5 years after he graduated because he was so disgusted about, you know, his experience, you know, and it really affected him. So it's like, you know, you go through all of that, and you, in one way, you reap the reward of sticking through it, but on another way, you know, at what cost? You know, it's a sad situation. So, you know, we got to liven it up a little bit. I don't want, you know, we got a couple minutes. I don't want to end on that note. So we don't want to end up on that note. So we could talk a little stuff right now because you know, Ty, you're a New England fan, and you know, Asante Samuel was a New England Patriot. You know, has some good years for y'all. He's a good player, but now, what I've learned is he has started his own podcast. So when I say all of this, it's starting to make a little bit more sense where he was going. But he started trying to discredit, you know, Sauce Gardner from the Jets, saying that Sauce wasn't that good and, you know, overrated, and it's the New York media that blew him up and stuff like that, and that if he played in New York, he'd be, you know, looked at it a certain way. I was like, okay. Then he just started taking shots. He went at Darrelle Revis, saying he was overrated and this, that, and the third. And, you know, he just went left. And everybody, you know, for the most part, people was just like, what is he doing? What is he saying? You know, the Seahawk fans, of course, was agreeing with him. But for the most part, everybody else is just like, he's bugging out. But then you come to realize that, you know, he's trying to start his own podcast. So I guess he was trying to get some, he definitely went viral. He did that. He got himself some.
What was he saying?
So he basically started the NFL released a list, and it basically was like a list of who the best, like, so they did it for all positions, and they said who the best. So they got to cornerbacks, and they said Sauce Gardner was the second or first. I think they said he was second. So he was the second best. Yeah, so they said he was the best rookie corner, and then they said he was the second best cornerback in the league last year. And so he took a shot at that and said that he was overrated. And the only reason why, he said he wasn't even the best rookie. He said Tariq Woolen from Seattle was, and that the only reason why Sauce Gardner won Defensive Player of the Year was because of the New York media bias, which is so ridiculous because there's New York media, but all the New York media and all the national media does is just clown the Jets like constantly. Like that's the number one, you know, go-to is, you know, if you need some airtime, just clown the Jets. So I don't see how that gets you any brownie points. But anyway, so first he said Sauce Gardner was overrated, and the only reason he was ranked that high is because he plays in New York. And then that started a little bit of back and forth. You know, Sauce kind of took the high road, and he was just like, well, why are you saying this about me? Like, I'm not disrespecting you. Why are you disrespecting me? And then he said, yeah, same as Darrelle Revis. Like, I was better than him, but, you know, but it's because of New York media, he got hyped up. And so Darrelle Revis, you know, he not going the high road. So he just went in on him, and it turned into a whole thing. And then everybody was just like, why is he doing this? But then, you know, it comes out, he announced, you know, he's got a podcast. So he's trying to, so, you know, you're a New England fan, so I'm going to let you clean it up. And I'm going to just ask you straight up. And then Asante Samuel played good for y'all. But is Asante, and as did Darrelle Revis, because he was on one of those championship teams. But is Asante Samuel better than Darrelle Revis, a better corner?
No.
Okay. So I'll tell you what his rationale was, but he didn't say it. He said it was because, which is true, he had a lot of interceptions. So in his career, Asante Samuel does have more interceptions than Darrelle Revis does. But so that was basically his argument. So his argument was basically like, you know, cornerbacks is all about, interceptions. So, you know, if you blanket guys or you cover guys and they don't throw in your directions, or you have pass breakups or whatever, all that doesn't matter as long as if you get interceptions. So that was his. Okay,
you get interceptions because people throw your way.
Right.
People
exactly.
Was not throwing to Revis.
Exactly. That's what everybody else is saying. Revis Island.
You can't hold it if you ain't throwing.
Right.
What would you rather get? Interceptions, or you rather know that I'm coming out today and ain't nobody throwing my side? Like, you just shut down the whole side. As a grown man, they like, no, we can't throw it. We can't throw it over there.
Well, what he tried to say was that he was better at baiting people, baiting the quarterback. So he would give a little cushion and then take it away.
You're not even like, there's not even a thought to try to even, you know how like I wish a nigga would. There's not even. They're like, they doing this. They like.
That's exactly. I wish you would throw that ball over here. Right. That's exactly.
When your wife be yelling at you and you be like playing ignore, you be like, I don't hear it. That's how they get on the field. They're like, yeah, we just gonna go over here.
Right.
we do over there, right. But we just gonna.
We got two receivers on the field and a tight end. Yeah, one's on that side. Okay, we're gonna look at this side with this wide receiver and that tight end and maybe the running back because we're not going on that side. Exactly.
Yeah, we're not going.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I appreciate that about you. That even though Asante Samuel was a New England Patriot, that you're keeping it clean.
Yeah,
I appreciate.
Keep it real, like.
Okay, I appreciate it. There's some delusional people out there.
A whole field, like
whole side of the field. Listen, he was real, man.
Field, in the height when the NFL was like they had good receivers, or you should whole field
stacked.
Like I'm not throwing your direction.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if it's Calvin Johnson. It don't matter if it's Randy Moss. It don't matter if it's Ocho Cinco. It don't matter if it's Terrell Owens. It don't matter. I'm not going over there. I'm not going.
Like nigga, did I tell you not to throw it over?
It don't matter. Don't matter. Andre Johnson, don't matter. Don't throw it over there.
Asante's bugging, man. Like, and I think the larger thing that Revis touched on was just like, yo, as a DB, right? At some point, the fraternity of the NFL, and then smaller than that, the position is bigger than everything else. It's bigger than the rivalry. It's bigger than the stats. It's like, yo, like we're finally getting our recognition when guys like us had to literally get it out of the mud. You know what I'm saying?
Big
and now you're hating. You know what I'm saying? And it just, you just look like you bugging. Like, like Ty said, like you're 5'8", 5'9" guy. People didn't fear you. You were a great tackler. You're a great, man on ball, kind of coverage guy. But you hating on this rookie that has a promising career, that whether he's a Jet or not, this is anti the brand for our position. It's kind of like tight ends and running backs. If you look at Travis Kelce and what he's done for the tight end position, there have been, in my opinion, better tight ends, looking at the game in the past with Tony Gonzalez and, all of those guys. But Travis Kelce said, yo, tight ends ain't getting no love. Let's start this tight end camp.
Right.
Let's talk about more money for tight ends. And then you look at the running backs. The running backs are struggling to get hired, struggling to get money because of the injury, and they're a dime a dozen. Cornerbacks is one of those other things where you're going to get one per draft that might get, that first round slot. Right. And it's like, now you hating, you know what I'm saying? Like, not saying that his comments is going to affect everything, but I kind of got that nature from Revis. Like, yo, dog, we've come far enough. Let these cats shine. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing too. Is like Sauce isn't self-promote. He wasn't saying anything. You know what I mean? He was just like, why are you discrediting me? Like, I didn't, like, what did I do wrong? You know what I'm saying? And he was like, but again, it goes back to he's trying to get clout for his podcast. So it's like, okay, if he did it because he was trending on Twitter, he was trending like this dude's, wilding out. But if he got his name out there and then people subscribe to his podcast or get clicks or whatever, and it helped promote, I guess, I don't, respect.
He's looking like the Pat Beverly.
Exactly, right, exactly.
The NFL.
We got let me see. Samuel got 51 interceptions. Revis got 29.
Right.
He does have a lot more, and that was always
a lot of interceptions. You gotta give him that.
That was always the knock I had on Revis as well as a Jet fan. You know what I'm saying? Just because Revis didn't play, we also got to remember Revis didn't play the slot often.
Right.
He wasn't a do-it-all kind of cornerback. It's the same argument I have about Troy Polamalu, but everybody, swears he's a first ballot guy. I don't like him per se as a safety, but you know what I'm saying? Some guys change the game. You can't knock that.
Right. And it's different styles too, right? Like Deion was, Deion could cover, but he wanted to bait, so he would give a little cushion, make the quarterback think the receiver was open, and then he would give him a little space, and then he would come back to the ball and get his interception. Revis his mentality was like, I'm not giving you nothing. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting an inch. You know what I mean? That's how he played the game. So yeah,
Physical
you can say
corner.
okay, no interceptions, but like you said, not getting thrown at. Balls are not even catchable when you do try, because your dude he's not even close to being open. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like I said, Asante Samuel, he went through, but like I said, if it's helping his brand or whatever, more power to him. I guess, but I don't necessarily, if the way you got to get on is by tearing somebody else down, especially somebody not even asking for it, like he's a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like because somebody made the point. They said if that's how you really feel, like, okay, you want him to do some things differently, or you say, hey man, in order for this kid to really be great, he's got to get some more interceptions, like you said, a camp, or just hit him like, yo, I want, I've been watching your film where I see you do certain things. I think you have some talent, but if you really want to get to this next level, you need to step up the interceptions. I was an interception guy, so here's some tips or some tricks that might help you get to that. You know what I'm saying? Like that is the more, the more magnanimous way to go about it. But in this world that we live in with Twitter and social media and all of that, right? You get more clicks by going in another direction. But it's, again, you're tearing somebody else down to do it. And if that's how you're gonna do it, I guess, So we'll leave on that note. But great show, Stu. Appreciate you stopping by. So like I said, as promised, man, I want to give you the opportunity to promote your your podcast and where you do your thing. So our viewers can check you out and yeah, well, do your thing. Let the people know where they can catch you.
Man, again, I appreciate you guys for having me, man, and joining, and great show. I'm gonna be locked in every week. But yeah, I'm on a Cast Worthy podcast. So just like you have podcast, it's Cast Worthy. So we talk about the things we deem cast worthy: sports, politics, a lot of sports and politics, urban news. You can find us on all of the DSPs. We do YouTube live on Sunday-ish, Negro time-ish. 9-ish Negro time. And that's it, man. We're coming up on our 200th episode. And again, if you like to hear politics from a black perspective, just talking about all different types of things, check us out, man, and we'd appreciate it.
All right, no, for sure. No, we'll definitely check that out, and we ask our our listeners and our subscribers to follow as well and support anybody that rocks with us. So yeah, we'll call this one a night. So appreciate you stopping by, and appreciate everybody that watched. So this is Coach Matt signing off on behalf of Tyler and Stu on Live by the 3 Sports Podcast, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.
All right, peace.